Okay, so we'll look at the sort of 2 chip shots change we made and then just talk about the drivers, because in fairness, there's nothing really technically we've changed. There's some faults that we've discussed, but you kind of almost adapted them by what we did with the T-peg, okay? So set it wise with the chipping, obviously you can see your feet now. Now you thought you were flaring your feet loads. I mean, this wasn't a bad technique, but the foot could even go more, as we said. And the more open that foot gets, even sort of going out this way, it just makes it easier for your weight to get into that left side. And that's basically been the theme of these sessions, is like, you've got to get your weight going forward, okay? Now, in a chip shot, we're not creating much momentum to kind of move that way. So therefore, we start there. Previously, I mean, you use your wrists, in some ways, you use your wrists well, but the lie had to be perfect, okay? Your body now is kind of stopping. From here now, it's a little bit kind of scoopy, flicky. You can almost see your trail hip now is kind of moving back away from target as you come through. So you're leaning back a little bit more, weight's probably on this back foot. Hands are still kind of in front of you, so you just basically stood the club there, just gone and flicked it. Now, as a good golfer, on a good lie, with no pressure, you could stand there on a practice green and chip the ball with your right shot. You had a couple of chip-ins with that technique, because there's no pressure and that technique is not kind of under any scrutiny. When it comes under pressure in a golf course and one shot matters and the lie's not so good, it's going to be a little bit trickier, okay? So flaring out that foot, again, it's even more, keeping that weight forward, so when you swing now, there's more body turn. So when you finish, you're now facing the target with your chest, rather than your chest kind of facing down the ground here and stuff, and your arms doing all the work. Now, has that club gone a little bit far? Yeah, maybe a little bit, okay? I mean, it kind of would be sort of no further than that. If it needs to be, the club could be sort of down here where you haven't used that much. It depends on the shot you want to play, obviously. Yeah. If you want a little bit of loft, get a bit of height, then yeah, add a little bit of wrist in there to get the bounce on the club and the loft on the back of the ball, send it higher. But for your basic kind of chip shot that you were sort of playing for the most part there with that wedge or that 54, we don't want to be sort of excessively using the wrist, because we don't need to. We've got loft, okay? All we're trying to do now is get the engine to work better, get your body to rotate and be more of the sort of driving force of this shot, rather than just relying on sort of sheer ability with your hands and your wrists. That, like I say, under no pressure off a good lie, yeah, you could do it all day. Yeah. But when the pressure builds up and the shot's not quite as easy, then it goes wrong. From a driver perspective, I say setup-wise was good. You talked about your left arm collapsing a little bit, okay? There wasn't really much in terms of that we're going to look at the moment, more just having the tee a bit low. Now, even though that tee seems to be really low, I think that's the grey one, okay? But that tee there being a little on the higher side, okay, what it would encourage you to do now is lean back. So you can see that body movement now leaning back this way to try to hit it, and there's not really much weight shifting to target. So because your body's coming back towards the camera, your wrists now, with the momentum and the speed you're going to get, all you're going to get is this sort of hooky one here that we can see, and that ball's going off there, okay? So, and then what you then try to do to fix that was rise the hands up a little bit. Yeah, there's some element with that, but if you rise the hands up with that tee height, you can sky it. And then if you don't want to sky the ball, then you just have to lean back even more, which is probably going to encourage the fault even more, than the ball then might start going way over here, you see. So just by you hitting those sort of 4 or 5 drives, we put on the blue tee initially, which is way too low to be fair. Yeah. But in reality, the 3 or 4 blue tee shot drives you had, I would say you hit the fairway with 4 of them, yeah? They lost a bit of yardage because the launch angle's low and the ball's not going to carry as far. But if you get the ball 230, 240 in the fairway, and then you can then utilise that, okay, there's a par 5 on the back 9, you've been playing well, you're driving the ball good, you want to be more aggressive, yeah, crank up to that orange tee and just try and send one, yeah? But for fairway finders, I would say pink tee in the summer, absolute max. Winter time, yes, we can put it on a slightly higher tee, because the tee goes into the ground more, the ground's softer, yeah. You put that tee
as well, so it's probably...
Oh yeah, even then, yeah. I would say stick with the pink one then, yeah, because if you're on the mats in the winter, then yeah, the tee's not going to go any further, is it?
No.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes if you're playing on a course, there's a bit of softness to the tee, then yeah, you might want to go to the orange. But generally, if you can stick to the pink tee, I think most people, especially with club head speed, and I think Tiger once said the best bit of advice he was given by someone when he first came on tour was tee that ball down lower. The quicker the ball's on the ground, the straighter it's going to be, yeah? The ball in the air high has got more chance to go offline. And it's not as if you're a short hitter either. It's not as if you're just trying to gain yardage. Yes, obviously yardage gain's nice, but don't need to hit the ball any further. So. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Cool. So a few more drivers then, buddy, and we'll see how that goes from there, buddy, all right?